right, welcome back to Terrible at Fishing with Michael Ruffino. That's me. And Ken Sandusky, born, bred, and raised right here. Klamath
Howdy,
Falls.
folks.
Yeah, Modoc now. But and my wife and I, we went did our visiting to her parents, and I think it's great that she has parents still. I mean, my papa died 33 years ago. My mama died 23 years ago, and so I haven't had parents in an awful long time. So we went down to Carson City to say hey to them and spent a few days. And on the way back, I always wanted to stop by this big giant sporting goods store called Scheels, Scheels. They got a big presence on the internet for sporting goods. This store, if you ever look it up, Scheels in Sparks, Nevada, is beyond big. I've been in Bass Pro Shops, been Cabela's, been in some pretty nice, beautiful stores. And to be honest, Bass Pro Shops probably used to be the best and prettiest and biggest, but Scheels got them whooped, because not only does Scheels is it big with big mountains in it and stuffed animals all over the place and fish tanks that you can walk through and see fish, all around you. But they got a Ferris wheel. That's how big this store is. I mean, they actually have a pretty much a standard Ferris wheel that goes on inside the store, in the center of the store. And they got multiple levels. And so we went, I'm trying to find the fishing department. So we went upstairs because I figured, because I saw hunting stuff up there. So I went upstairs, and underneath this big giant seaplane that was suspended from the ceiling. Imagine got a Ferris wheel. It's got a plane. A real plane, one that flies and with people in it. It's suspended above your head was the fishing department. So we go into the fishing department, and Ken, gets me all interested in fly fishing. And so I go over to the fly fishing area. And the neat thing too, and I found this out at the end, because the salesmen are on commission, and I love shopping, having commission salespeople help me. I didn't think that existed anymore, to be honest, because I was commissioned when in my career, and I trained some commission salespeople, and it was so much fun. And you just take a personal interest in people. And I was talking to this other customer who was an avid fly fisherman. So he tells me, a nice setup is a company called TFO. Now, TFO, let me see. They don't really tell you what TFO stands for, but it is a company that most people know, Temple Fork Outfitters. And Temple Fork Outfitters, he says, stands behind their product. So if I ever have a problem, if it breaks or anything, they'll fix it or replace it. And so he shows me this NXT Black Label kit. It's a combo. And it's got the a stainless steel reel. It's got a 9-foot. This is a 5 weight. And I was told to start with 5 or 6 weight. And it's got everything on it. So now I've got my complete combo. It says it's complete. I don't know. I got to learn. I have no idea, really. And so then that customer started looking at waders. I go, well, I better get it. Actually, I didn't want my wife. She was buying this for me, and I didn't really want her to spend too much money. But she says, you need waders. So all right. So I'm shopping waders too, and so I got these Sims waders and this fly rod combo kit. And then because you have to pay tax in Nevada. Yeah, bunch of rip-off people paying tax, sales tax. So I got one of their little credit card because I wanted $70 off, because first purchase you get $70 off. So yeah, credit card. That's for Shields. But I could not believe how big this place was. It was, I mean, multiple stories, a plane hanging from the ceiling in the upper floor. So that's really tall. And then this Ferris wheel in the middle, and fish tanks you can walk through like an aquarium, like a cool aquarium. And I love the fact that the salesmen were commissioned. I love that. They just take a personal interest in you. And it really was a long weekend for me, as not that I don't love my in-laws, but it was a long weekend. So on the way home, we stopped by Shields, and then Chick-fil-A was right next to Shields. We so need a Chick-fil-A in town. It is the best chicken sandwich. I don't know if they add more hormones to them or what, if it's not really I have no idea. But Chick-fil-A is really, really, really good chicken. I don't know what they do with it. More loving. I don't know. Have you ever had Chick-fil-A?
No, I haven't.
No? Oh, you got to do Chick-fil-A. Now, if you ever drive by one, you got to stop by and just have one, because I don't know what they do to it, but I think they put cocaine in it. I'm not sure.
Oh gosh. So anyway, that fly rod of yours.
I got it.
I like what you bought there. That I think you could catch a bass on that thing.
Yeah, the case is a hard case that comes with, and inside it's got like it's where the reel is. It's got like sheepskin, fur or whatever, and it is a stainless steel reel. And I asked the guy, I'm a bass fisherman, so I said, "What's the drag?" He goes, "Well, you just turn that thing and it adjusts the drag." I go, "Well, how many pounds is it?" "Well, you just turn that thing and adjust the drag." Well, do you know? Because I can't find anywhere. Is fly fishing either Loctite and loose? Is that what it is?
Where is it? How many pounds is it on your rod, on your clothes face, or on your bait caster or your spinning rod?
Oh, well,
it's all
depends,
about feel, my friend.
On my BFS, it's a 4-pound drag. Typically, all my other reels are about 15-pound drag. So
that's it. You get that by feel. There's not a gauge, right? You're not
right.
You turn it tighter, it gets heavier. You turn it looser, it gets a little looser.
Well, that's what he said.
Just like regular fishing. I will. One thing I'll tell you, it looks like you got a floating line on there.
Yeah, there's a floating
line. With the bass, just don't worry about a big old long leader, because that'll make it more difficult to handle. If 4 or 5 feet is plenty, and even 3 feet of just a 20-pound test leader. Don't worry about a tapered tippet and all that for now, although that does help turn over your loop. Just start with a little short leader on there for your tippet, and don't worry about getting all fancy with your leader for a little while, because that makes it a little more difficult when you got a long leader on there.
All right. Well, I have no idea. So I assumed it had a tippet, but maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Maybe it does.
I don't know. But it just, I got to go to some place that actually knows something about fly fishing. But somebody's got to teach me how to do this now. I've been watching videos, so now I'm going to put a new playlist on Terrible at Fly Fishing, my Terrible at Fishing channel, and everybody can see me lose flies and whack rocks and get tangled up. And I've got some flies. See, I got flies. So I got all these cool flies that I traded my baits with a guy that ties flies. That's
Yeah,
the
those
trout.
look like great bass flies. I see the
Yeah,
popper in there. Yeah,
yeah. There's
I like
poppers.
the
Yeah,
streamer.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
got pop. So it's going to be, and then really shiny stuff. I mean, and this might be
yep.
something I might do later in life. I mean, as soon as I can figure out how to cast this thing, and one thing I haven't, I figured out by watching videos, tapered lines is like a whip. All whips are tapered, right? So, and that's why they can accelerate and go farther and be more accurate. So I assume tapered lines have the same premise to it, to where
Yeah.
they're tapered in order to get more velocity, in order to cast farther. So this is a 9 foot. It says it's a fast, but from what I've seen online, it's sort of like a moderate fast, and it's got a double screw ferrule thing on it to help keep that reel on it. So that's really good from what I've read. I don't know. It's the first one I've ever had. This is it. So I might go over to the Link River, this week and just, toss it out
You
there, see what I can do.
jumped in at a lot higher price point than most of us, my friend. That's
I did.
a nice setup. It's a
Uh,
decent setup. Yep.
it was a couple $100, a little
Yep.
over, and it was, I didn't want plastic, and I just wanted something good to start with.
It has a
And
disc
boy,
drag that when you spend too little money, you end up with a clicker drag, and that clicker drag's a real drag. You got to have a disc drag so you can have that variability that to dial it in. You were talking about.
yep. No, I'm excited about it. I mean, it's going to be. This is. I'm actually kind of afraid of it, and I'm excited
Nothing
about
to
it.
be afraid of.
Well, I think everybody's kind of afraid when they start something. You know, there's
Start
some
without the hook.
trepidation.
Don't when you first start casting, just use the line, no hook, and then you'll take the fear out of it.
Don't put a hook on it.
Put a hook on it.
Well,
You'll hook yourself. The heavier the fly, the more difficult it is to cast,
really?
and the more chances that you're going to hook yourself. You
Oh,
start out with no hook on there, you can't hook yourself. But then, as you get started, starting with a smaller fly will help you get the feel for it.
really?
Yes,
I
sir.
saw. These guys. Everybody's got a method. One says, don't use too much wrist. Don't use
Yeah,
too
no
much
risk.
elbow. Yeah, and
No risk.
yeah, it's when I first started snowboarding a long, long time ago, when back in the '80s when snowboarding was invented, I went to a ski resort and I wanted lessons, but there was only me and this other guy, and they would only give the instructor would only do 3 people, so we had to go figure it out ourselves. I never skied before in my life, so back then they wouldn't let you on lifts, and so we went from one lift to another, trying to get on a lift because they wouldn't let snowboarders on them. And we finally got on one. It took us to the top of the mountain on a black diamond run. I hurt myself. I mean, so did he. I mean, we weren't going to ride the lift down, so we sat on top of this black diamond drop off, strapped in our boards, and we just looked at each other and says, "It's good to know you." And we went down the hill, and we just hurt. And it wasn't until I got lessons that I got good at it. And lessons mean a lot. So with this, I think I'm going to try to do it myself until I can find somebody who can teach me. But I think lessons would go a long way in understanding, fly fishing. And then also, floating line. I mean, I know this green blue is the floating line, and then it's got this white line underneath it, and then it's got The tippet, I guess.
Backing.
The backings.
I'll tell
That's
you what,
called backing.
you want to just get started really easy. Just feed that out behind your boat with any fly on it and drag it over where you know the bass are, and you'll get the feel for at least bringing the fish in. Start with
Oh,
that.
that's a good
Then
idea.
they're great for
That's,
trolling.
I could troll with this.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I see guys go out on the Lake of the Woods and they pay people with a drift boat to row while they troll
Mm-hmm.
with their fly rods.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, that seems a little silly because you're paying some guy like $500 or $250 or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I control it. I could do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But I'm real happy with, I was shocked. My wife says, well, just get it. I was really shocked because she don't say that too often. So I guess it's because I spent 4 days with her parents.
Yeah.
And I behaved
Your
myself.
reward, huh?
Yeah, I behaved myself. Yeah, they're good people. They're really good people. But I'm Italian. They're British, and if you ever met a Brit, they're very subdued, very quiet, and everybody that knows me knows I'm loud and kind of loud, and I'm the quietest one in my family. I got siblings that eclipse me, but so it was really an exciting thing to go to Shields. I mean, everybody, if you're ever in Reno, if you like sporting goods, all they do is sporting good stuff. This thing is as big as a mall. So, and it's got entertainment. I mean, it's just, and if you get there, I mean, you pay tax, so it's 8.25%, I think is what I had to pay. I haven't paid tax in ages. See, I mean, in California, you pay tax, but you don't pay tax up here.
Income and sales tax in California. Usually one or the other.
Yeah, it's you get spoiled up here in Oregon. You get spoiled up here, and I'm gonna go over to the Link River probably, but I got to sort of, my father-in-law, he came down with COVID yesterday after we left, and my health is horrible, so hopefully it'll just bypass me. Although I've already had it twice, so. But the strain nowadays is more like having a cold. The strain nowadays is more like having a cold. But I live in the small percentile. If you can hit a boat on the highway, I can do it. Oh, and I've been trying to lose weight, so I signed up to this Sky Lakes Wellness, and I've lost 35 pounds in 5 months.
Nice.
That's pretty good. Yeah, and it's not a diet. They just make you smarter. So when you choose food, you're just doing it smarter. And if you mess up, and you go on with life. But anyway, I had my exit interview today, and so they're very proud of me. I'm very proud of me. I've lost 6 inches on my waist. I mean, that's a whole lot. My belt, actually, I'm going to have to trim my belt in a couple of months. Cut it off. Make it smaller. But yeah, the waders. So I got these Sims waders too. So I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
You made quite the investment there, my friend. That's I'm still aspiring. I'm on my 15th pair of waders at least, and I've never graduated to Sims.
Are they good?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just know the other guy bought them, and so I bought them.
I have found that a good old set of Cabela's waders will hold up just as well and function fine. The function for me is in the shoes, in the boots.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, I have owned a set of Sims a long time ago. I really like just plain old Cabela's brand waders. They they hold up better, and they're when they do rip, you don't cry because you're gonna have to go broke again buying another set. You're gonna go through a set every few years if you use them anyway, and you know a good way to just you got to make them last longer by taking care of them. So don't leave them out in the sun and laying in your truck or whatever, and they'll last longer. But no matter what, you're going to end up ripping them or wearing them out, and you're going to have to replace them. And $100 versus 3 or 4 is a lot easier to swallow. A lot easier to
Yeah.
use too.
They were 230. In fact, both the rod and reel was 230, and so was the thing. So, and I got a free hat. So I got a free hat. Got a Sasquatch hat.
Nice.
You got to give me something.
Just don't tell those fly guys when you're out on the river that you're a rubber bait maker, because they'll let you know how they feel about that.
I make hard baits too, and spinners and spoons. I make all
feathers
sorts of
and
stuff.
fur, my friend. Feathers and fur. That's all they want to see.
Feathers and fur. Well, you know what? I like fishing. I just love fishing. So these, I don't know. I just like fishing, and this is an adventure. I get to try something brand new, something I've never done before, and I get to learn something. It's like going steelhead fishing this year. I'd never done that before, and I got those steelhead, and it was fun. And now I get to catch fish on this.
So since you brought that up, the holy water there at Coal Rivers between the hatchery on the Rogue and the what is it, Lost Creek Reservoir Dam, Coal River. There's a stretch of river between the dam and the hatchery. They call the holy waters. That's fly fishing only, and that's a pretty interesting experience if you can get there when they're biting. They are subject to the hex hatch. You'll always hear the fly guys talking about that hex hatch. So Williamson River claim to fame, big bugs, surface bite. It's what they're always looking for, and that occurs there too at that holy waters. Same lure for steelhead in the upper North Fork of the Umpqua. That's open to fly fishing only. So a little bit of added opportunity when it comes down to it when you pick up a fly rod.
Well, yeah, and Odell only allows fly fishing.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a fly fishing only lake.
Odell Creek. Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah, that you're bug and bubble, and now that I know to fill it all up, I'm already using that trick, by the way. But
yeah, it works.
That bug and bubble combo comes in handy on those fly only places where they talk about terminal restrictions, not actual gear restrictions. There is a difference. Right. There are places where it's fly only fishing, but it's the terminal tackle that's regulated. But there are places where it'll say the cast is propelled by the weight of the line. Right at that point, they're dictating that you're using a fly setup.
Well, it's all new to me. This is all new to me, and I'm a little overwhelmed is what I am. And that's why I said, I remember trying snowboarding the first time and destroying my body. And I don't know. I just need somebody to teach me how to cast, and then, how to set this thing up properly. I know it's all set up originally, but those lines aren't going to stay there. You're going to lose some tippet. You're going to have to replace the line eventually. And I don't, to be honest, I guess I'll go to the ledge, here in town. Mike owns the ledge here in town, and he sells a lot of fly fishing stuff. and I bought my kayak from him because he's a kayak dealer. He's the only kayak dealer really of quality kayaks here in town. Um, so I'll probably take this over to Mike's, and Mike, what do I do? He's going to be upset that I didn't buy it from him, but my wife bought it for me, and we were just happened to be in Shills, and I'll tell you, when the wife says go ahead, you don't hesitate. You don't get a green light too often, especially when you buy nice stuff, like you said. she'll say, why don't you just get the $49 combo? That's what most wives would say.
Yeah, don't do that. That clicker drag will get you.
Yeah, I didn't. It looked like a plastic toy. Is what the 49. They had a $49 combo there, fly fishing combo, and it just looked so cheap. And the way I fish, if I like it, I'm out there all the time. And fly fishing season, for the most part, is at least twice as long as bass fishing season. So, and I could be using this a lot more than my bait casters and spinning rods.
Well, the Keno Reach is, and that goes all the way to the California border now because of the removal of J.C. Boyle.
Right.
Is a winter fishery, and they actually close it, at least now the way I read the regs, from the Highway 66 dam or bridge up to Keno Dam will remain closed in the summertime, but that October 1st day, the opener of the Keno Reach, is some of the best fly fishing in Klamath County.
Really?
And like we've discussed in the past, it's largely those big bugs, a minnow imitation, woolly bugger, or even like a big hare's ear streamer, something that looks like a big minnow, and short casts. It becomes about line control and trying to get the fly down in the water column to where the fish are. And I like to grab the fly rod in October and November and just sit in one spot over one pocket. And the casting is easy. It's just a little wrist flick roll cast. You let it float down in front of you and you do it again. And you can really sit in one spot on the Klamath River with a very little line out and a very simple cast, for a number of hours and have a decent chance of hooking into a fish. I have sat in one spot for 45 minutes before I'd had any action before, and spent half the day without moving more than 20 feet because of the way the pocket water allows you to kind of probe. You can't do that with a metal lure or something that's weighted. You can't. You get 2 or 3 places where you can get your lure down in the hole, and you might as well move on, and you've spooked a hole out. But with the fly, every time it rolls through there, you're presenting it in a little bit different fashion, and a little bit different area, in the strike zone down there. So it's something that helps me mix things up when I'm bored of something, or, when I want to challenge myself.
Well, river fishing and me, I'm a lake fisherman and ocean fisherman. So river, it's a different venue. It's a different style, different technique, different gear. And that's why I'm a little intimidated by the whole, thing. But I'm one of those guys that jumps into the deep end and, and sink or swim. And sooner or later I'll swim. I'll figure it out then sooner or later. But if I can find a buddy that can actually, go with me and say, Mike, no, that's not the way you do it.
I'll meet you up there one of these days at Lake of the Woods. Check out our some older stuff. His name's Denny Rickards, but he was pretty well renowned for stillwater fly fishing, and because of that, he really liked Klamath Lake and had taken up residence here. I don't know what has happened with old Denny since I was a younger man, but we used to run into him out on the lake pretty regular, and I would see him chasing bass now and again with that fly rod. And he largely focused on still water. He did a lot of writing and videos and TV shows when I was younger. And I imagine a lot of that content is still available.
Hmm.
Denny Rickards, Stillwater Fly Fishing.
Stillwater. Yeah, I'll have to look him up, see if he's still around. And I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's some people that I know that fly fish, and they. I'll teach them bass fishing. They teach me fly fishing. It's a trade off, and it's yeah. We have a derby coming up on the 14th up at Lake of the Woods, and that's going to be that's going to take up a lot of my time. I got to make a lot of baits. We give away a lot of baits, to the kids and to the participants, and so I'm working on that right now. But that's basically kind of a perch contest, believe it or not. The person who catches the most perch gets the best prize because they just want all the perch caught and destroyed out of that lake is what they want. and then we do give them for the biggest bass, the biggest bag of trout and stuff like that. But I just give away a lot of stuff that weekend. It's just going to be a lot of fun, which is what the 14th is like 2 weeks, right? It's coming up. Yeah, 2 weeks by the time this airs.
That pre-fishing weekend, that same weekend?
Yeah, it is. It's free fishing weekend.
I'll
We
be
always
sure
do
to
it.
take advantage of that so I don't have to buy an out-of-state license. So growing up around here and moving 20 miles over the border.
Yeah, we always do derbies and fishing contests during free fishing weekend. There's 3 of them in the year, and so in February we do the ice fishing event during that free fishing weekend. And the nice thing about that, you can have up to 5 poles. You can put 5. You can punch 5 holes and put 5 poles in there and start pulling them up. Crazy. It's the only reason I have a multi-pole license because I can't keep an eye on 2. I can't do it. But on ice fishing, you have pop-ups. So they just set their own hooks. And you can put 5 of them out there and just when you see the flag go up, you just go out there and collect your fish.
We'll often just tie onto a little piece of willow even, and that'll suspend the. Just quick story about ice fishing at Lake of the Woods. The first year we ever got the second pole endorsement, we were fishing in shallow for trout, and it was a slow morning, and we went out to get some of those perch out deeper. And while we were tying up for the perch, I just broke off the line, tied it around a stick, and put the stick over the top of the hole, and then I covered the hole up with ice. And I had a place to reach my finger in to jig my bait, and while I rigged up for perch. Got rigged up, ready to head out to the deep water for perch, reach under there one more time to jig it, and it wouldn't move. I thought it was snagged on the bottom, but then it started pulling back. And I played that. There was probably only about 3 feet of line available for me to mess with that fish. And he was too big to come through the ice. It was a 6-inch auger hole. And I ended up reaching through and gilling him in the water, bleeding because of the big teeth on that male brown trout, and chipping the hole bigger before I was able to pull that fish out of the lake. And that's a God's honest truth. So first year that you could have a second pull on a little 8-inch piece of willow is my biggest brown trout out of Lake of the Woods.
A lot of people don't realize when you either rent a tent, a little shelter, because they rent shelters. But I have my own shelter. But the nice thing about having a shelter, it darkens the whole mouth, the opening. And so it kind of is sort of the reason you put snow on top of it.
Yes, sir.
Which would cause it to freeze, by the way. But I mean, but in a tent, it's dark, and it just allows you to catch more fish. And it's just, I really hope we get a frozen lake this year. I mean, last year was a fluke to where it didn't freeze, but it'll freeze again this year, and I'll be out there, and we'll do a lot of ice fishing, and go down to the Keno Reach. We'll probably do some fly fishing, and I don't know. I'm. It's going to be an interesting year. I mean, I got something new, and I don't know. It's just going to be. I think I don't get skunked too often. I mean, I think sure I got skunked once, where I didn't catch nothing. But typically, I mean, I catch 30 to 50 or so fish in a day during the season, and sometimes more. But I don't know what I'm going to do going fly fishing, and I don't catch.
Better get used to getting skunked.
I know it. That's what
Now
I'm saying.
you be listening to my grandpa's advice is that have fun no matter what's happening.
Well, I think learning something new is going to be fun. Frustrating and fun, both. And I'm a very competitive person, and probably the most competitive with myself. Yeah, I just think I should catch something bigger and better than I did last time, or more. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
I like that. I have often just quit fishing a certain way, or like I know that's going to work, so why keep chasing that one? And bass is a little different because you're having such a little impact on the population, and they're just made for sore mouthing. But wild trout, it's a little different, and you could be greedy and just keep on going and use what is going to work and have a big impact on the population, or you could be out there experiencing it and just challenging yourself a little more. Still about catching fish, but you're making it a little harder on yourself, trying something new, looking for a different way to maybe a little less impactful way to utilize that resource.
Yeah. No, I do that a lot too. I mean, yeah, I make all these baits, and I go out there to challenge myself on different baits. These, when you mentioned salted baits, I made salted baits, and it was a killer. It just kept working. And so I tried, salting, swim baits, which not a good idea.
They fall apart pretty quick.
They fall apart real quick. Like third cast, it was like, where'd it go? But it's kind of, I love doing that. I mean, it's sort of, I'll do it with fly fishing, but I'm looking forward to catching my very first fish on a fly rod. I've never done it. And we all know that when you catch your first fish on, no matter what, whether it be a dink or whether it be a monster, it doesn't matter. It's going to feel like a monster. It's going to be momentous. And I'll be so proud to post it on my Facebook page, this 6-inch fish.
It won't be long. The smallmouth, especially, but largemouth too. If you go where you've been catching them on your rubber baits, you'll definitely get one.
Well, water's cold now, so I
Okay,
mean
cool. It's warm back up.
It's not going to return. It's not going to turn again.
Yeah.
So those
But
fish
it'll mix and re-stratify, and the bass know that winter is coming, and they might not be in the same spots, but they're going to be actively feeding, getting ready for winter. So
yeah, so I'll get up there. I mean, and see if I can't get something. Troll it like you said, and see if I can't get something this week. I think this weekend's Labor Day, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's a big car show, up at Lake of the Woods. This is their big car show, and so I avoid that. I avoid that. I love car shows. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, unless I can buy the car, I used to own a couple 69 Dodge Chargers RTs, and one 4-speed, one was an automatic, and yeah, I have a hard time going to a car show because I mourn the loss of my 69 Dodge Chargers, which I sold off because we owned a retail store and it was struggling. So the Charger was worth a lot of money. If I knew it wasn't going to make a difference, I wouldn't have done it. But we owned a nature store in Fresno, and
Oh,
it just didn't work out very well. But that's tough going to car shows. But I love
well,
them.
so you won't be heading to Lake of the Woods, but I tell you, you put put that green woolly bugger. Sorry about that. We'll put that green woolly bugger on there and
Yeah.
drag that thing around behind your boat up at Rocky Point, and you got a
Oh, you
good
think?
chance of getting into something.
I haven't been to Rocky Point in ages. I've
Yeah,
been up
that's a
there.
great fishery this time of year.
Yeah,
And a
right
fly
between
rod.
Rocky Point and Comfort Point usually is where a good amount of those big
Yeah.
trout are.
The mouth
So
of Harriman's and 4 Mile, and then out to the fish banks. Not that one. Get one of them bugger looking ones. Not yeah, keep those for your bass, popper.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
you
you
can't.
can drag that along behind your boat on 30 or 40
Is
feet of
that a
line.
woolly bugger?
Yeah, the legs make it something else. I don't know the name of it. That was
Yeah.
basically a woolly bugger with rubber legs on it.
I have to learn an entirely new baits. Because you guys, everybody says, well, use a nymph, use this or that, and that or
Yeah,
that. And I'm like,
drag that
I,
nymph behind your boat. You'll catch a fish on that.
I mean,
That's a surface fly you're holding up there, like a parachute Adams or something.
yeah, I don't know the name of these things. I mean, these things are, this one looks like it's got a fox's tail to it. I mean,
There you go. I
looks like
like
a
that
fox.
fly.
Wow. So, this guy back east in Maine, he made these, and I traded him a lot of well, we both traded baits. I make baits, he makes baits, and so he made all these baits, and I sent him some, and he sent me some. So it's just like, but I don't know the names of them, and I need, it's like, I have to buy a book, to help me understand. I mean, when I was a teenager, nymph was a totally different thing.
Well, you can learn anything on YouTube.
Well, that's it. But there's so much on YouTube. It's bewildering because I was watching some videos on how to cast. Well, everybody's got a different way of doing it. One guy says, don't do this, don't do that, and the other guy says, no, you got to do this and do that, and it's just like, it's just so frustrating.
Well, whoever the guy was who said keep your wrist locked and move your elbow,
Yeah.
that's the right technique from my experience. And if you
And try to get it.
Go back to the old school guys, Leo Wolf, some of that back in the day casting method. I think you can't go wrong with that. I've never seen anybody have great luck casting with their wrist. When you get better, you can introduce your wrist, but as far for while you learn the timing of it, it's best to just keep that wrist as locked as you can. I had an instructor one time when I was a kid who would actually strap the pole to your wrist, the pole right to your wrist, so you could not move it. It was locked to your hand.
Well, that's kind of, those are techniques and ways that I need to learn. And if you learn wrong, it's hard to unlearn that. And so if I start doing something wrong, and then I guess creating a big loop, in the line, and then just waiting for it, and just a nice slow, pause, slow, and just let it come to you. I was surprised watching videos how you can pull out, 20 feet, and in one cast, it all goes out. You don't have to do all these false casts. And false casts, I guess, makes you look pretty, but it doesn't do anything. And
Well,
so
that's not necessarily true. You need your false cast to get ready for that final presentation. And 20 feet, that's nothing. You should be able to shoot 20 feet out without a lot of false casting.
right.
But that double haul, when you're pulling out some line from above the reel back down through the rod guides on your back cast, and then doing the same on your forecast, called a haul. You're snapping the line back down through the rod guides to get it to carry, like what you're talking about, to maintain that loop. And you shouldn't be able to minimize your false cast, but yeah, in order to get the line out that far, you have to be able to feed it through. And then
Right.
when you have about 10 feet, 15 feet left, that's that final big double haul. And then you just let go of your lead hand, and it'll shoot out. And then you instantly want to get back up there and grab it again, because if you hook a fish when you don't have your non-reel hand controlling the line, it'll be difficult. You can't set the hook the same. And plus you're going to start stripping at that point anyway.
Yeah, I keep my clothes on when I'm fishing.
Okay. We'll get you Skookum on the terminology pretty quick.
Well,
there.
that's something too. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's a different world. Fly fishing is different world from what my whole life has been with fishing gear, spinning and bait casters, mostly spinning. It wasn't until I got good with bait casters about, I don't know, 8 years ago. But and then everything went bait casters. But I've got all my rods and stuff for all that now. Now we're venturing into something totally new. And during the winter, I don't fish with my gear unless I'm ice fishing. That's a different set of gear. So this will be interesting. Like I said, I've got Link River right outside my front door. So, we'll go down there and see if I can hook something up. I don't know. I mean, but try to cast it without. I'm afraid. It's got to. The tippet. I remember in the 80s when I went with my boss, I kept losing flies because I kept whipping it, hitting a rock behind me and losing all his flies. Didn't make him very happy. So I'm afraid I'm going to do a lot of that.
You shouldn't be whipping it. It's a more feel than that. It's
yeah.
The timing is such that if it's doing that, then you're too slow on your transition between back and forecast.
It's amazing. And you're, these, I mean, something as little as these little itty bitty flies fish see. That amazes me that they can actually see that.
When it's on the surface like that, it makes a big difference for the visibility. Just the kind of the way the light refracts off the surface of the water. And they're keyed in on those, on size a lot of times, but also color and profile. So if you're matching the hatch in this case, literally, then they're going to see it. Sometimes when you're really matching the hatch, it's best to make it stand out a little bit, even throw something different.
Yeah. Give them your option, not their option.
I said it before, and I'll probably say it again, though. If you're in the Klamath area, it's my opinion that you're probably wasting your time if you're throwing a bug. I know some guys would be upset with me right now, including some of my mentors who might not be with us anymore, but I'd always switch over to that hare's ear, big old 3-inch long bug, no matter what they had me throwing, and end up competing with them on their match the hatch throw. So that woolly bugger, that hare's ear, streamer, anything that looks like a minnow, just like with any other bait, is going to be your go-to around here.
Well, we got all these midge flies and everything that hit the surface. So, I don't, again, I have no idea. These are all pretty, but I have no idea what they're supposed to look like. And I know wet, they probably look something totally different than dry. So they probably make them in a way that a fly looks different when they're wet. Because, I mean, it looks like a Christmas tree.
Yeah, they look a lot different. That's a great little lure. It has that chenille flash, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Beautiful.
That's a Klamath Lake lure right there.
That one?
Drag that at Rocky Point. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, we're it's going to be a fun week or two. It's just going to, you know, it'll be interesting. And we'll see what we can do between Comfort Point and Rocky Point. There's that trench right there where just a bunch of trout like to live. And, I'll be out there and there'll be 50 of them, big giant trout underneath me. And that, so, and I know everybody says, we got to use flies, Mike. I go, well, okay, I don't fly fish. Now I do ish. So it's, this TFO. I mean, this guy went on and on about Temple Fork Outfitters and what a great company they were. And I don't know if you know anything about TFO, but
Yeah, I got a TFO rod. I've liked it. It's one of my main my fly rods for when they do come out. Very rarely. I think you'll be like me where you have it with you, but seldom get it out.
Oh, really?
There are times where I've not been able to scare up a bite with my conventional gear and then switch over and have a great day. So it on other rivers up on the Deschutes and of course, over in the Rockies and stuff where fly fishing actually outperforms gear fishing regularly. And that's why the throngs tend to pick it up. But around here, that's just not the case. Once in a while, that's the only way you can catch fish. So you had a slow day, especially down at Keno or something like that, and you have your fly rod with you, just give it a shot. Even if you're not a great cast, then you may end up learning that that's what it took that day.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. And, it's because it's a 4-piece rod, it actually doesn't take up any room. So it's just, and I love this case. I mean, the case is a nice hard case. It's not a soft case. And so I really think it'll keep it from breaking. But the nice thing about a 4-foot, or a 4-piece rod, I can have it in my truck all the time.
Yeah.
Unlike my other rods. My other rods can't be in my truck all the time. So this is kind of one of those rods, like a travel rod. And it'll be ready to go whenever I see a body of water. And I think that's going to be the fun part about doing it this way. And you're right. I mean, when you said, when you fly fish, you only have this little itty bitty case with flies. So you're basically, you're ready to go in a very simple manner all the time.
Yep. That's right.
So I'm excited about that aspect of it. That's going to be in the truck. And then if I see a body of water and I got a few minutes, I'm stopping and doing it. Because my wife, we're driving by bodies of water all the time. I said, I can fish that. I bet you there's fish down there, So, she expects me to stop any moment. And, if I had a rod, I would go out fishing. But now I got a fly rod.
Well, just do me a favor and don't turn into one of those guys, one of those people who thinks your choice of gear makes you better than the other anglers out there. That's really there was a time in my life where I just thought maybe I'd give up on the other types of fishing and stick to fly angling. And then I just kind of realized I didn't want to be part of that community. I saw too much kind of superiority complex and really even disrespectful behavior to other anglers and being talked down to. Of course, I would provoke it sometimes with like I spoke about in the past, a jig head with a worm on my fly rod just to really kind of cheese people off. But, that was in response to how they spoke to me and how they spoke about other people. And so, fish however you see fit, but don't think that makes you better than whoever's next to you.
No, I never did that. I mean, you and I talk about how we help other people. And, even though my gear is pretty darn good, everything except for one rod is handmade. And, it's, I've got reels that are $50. I've got reels that are $450. And I make my own baits. I would hate the fact if I came across in a way that made me think, made me sound better than them. Now, I give you and we feel the same way about helping other people. We do what we can. And
Yep.
that's why we got a radio show, and we got, a YouTube channel. We got all this other stuff that, I've even written books on it. It's just, no, I can't imagine. I have had fly fishermen do that to me. Yeah, but I've had fly fishermen do the exact opposite to me and just really help me out. So you're always going to find a jerk in the bunch. You're always going to find one, and you just can't let that sour you to, the category. So, yeah. And like I said, I could go to Odell Lake now and fish that because I got a fly pole. I got a fly rod. So you don't call them poles, do you? Call them rods.
I call it pole.
Do you?
I don't
know.
I don't care. I really don't care.
I know. Well, it says
call it a fly pole just to cheese the people off who don't like it.
Then they look at me and say, "You're new, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah, it's my fly pole."
They know I also know how to fish other ways. I'm not an elitist.
Yeah, well, you're right. I love the fact that if you learn one way and you learn another way, you're now versatile. And you're right. Some days you're not going to catch it on gear, and you're going to catch it on a fly pole.
There you go. I like it.
You like it?
You're probably not going to be doing with that fly pole is ice fishing.
No, it won't fit in my tent.
I have used the tip of a fly rod to make a ice fishing pole, and it worked pretty nicely. I still got it out there.
I have some pretty nice fly pole or ice rods, and the better ones are the inline reels, and so it's kind of interesting that now this fly combo is, fly rods have inline reels, and it's the same type of build that we use in in ice fishing. It's the same type, except obviously it's different, but it's I use inline.
A fly reel is great for ice fishing. Actually, it's one of the best things you could use. You just spool regular line on there.
Yep. Yeah, it could be. Well, we'll see. Come January. I mean, we can always hope we can have some ice fishing in December, but usually happens in January, and we get February and March, and then it ends. But we just go out there, we pitch our tent, and and have hot cocoa and just have a good time. I even got my big screen in there. So, and then
winter is the best fishing in Klamath from my perspective. I've been in fire for a long time, and of course busy when everybody else is out when the weather's nice. But that being said, Putnam's Point is a good wintertime fishery. Never really freezes up just because that's where the current starts.
Right.
The Link River can be good, especially above the dam all winter long, and then on and off late in the winter. Keno is pretty, hit and miss all winter, but some really good chances at big fish. There's just a number of opportunities around the lake, fishing in the lake all winter long at the springs where nothing freezes up. So if you can't catch a fish in the wintertime, you need to get out and explore, because we're kind of known for that around here.
I agree. So, all right, everybody. So we know that I am terrible at fly fishing because I've never done it before. So if you see me out there, whipping a whip, stop by and say, Mike, you're just doing it wrong. And Ken and I always tell you the same thing.
Pack it
Wherever you
in,
go,
pack it up.
pack it in, pack it up, and pack out more than you actually took in, because leave the area cleaner than you found it. And remember, go slow and light, and you'll catch more stuff. So thank you, everybody. Tight lines to you all.